Okay, so welcome to this Wednesday's live. We're carrying on the theme of burnout this week. If you are watching live, let me know that you're here by hitting the like button. Or if you're watching on replay, let me know you're watching on replay. And as always, whether you're watching live or on replay, please do feel free to comment along. I really enjoy to read your comments and see whether or not you're agreeing with what I'm saying, or if it's landing right, or if you've got anything that you don't agree with for whatever reason. Always happy for the feedback. So last week we were thinking about burnout in general, and this week I'm thinking more about burnout for working mums. I'm just going to caveat this again by saying that burnout obviously affects absolutely everybody, regardless of gender and roles. But I did the general theme last week, and I'm thinking about mums this week more so because I'm a mum, I'm a woman, I'm a mum, I'm a wife. My clients are predominantly female, about 50-50, whether they're mums. At the moment, currently, it's about 50-50 split, mums, not mums. But all of these things, they affect us all in the same way. I mean, obviously, there's slightly different tweaks, and that's going to depend on you individually as well as your lifestyle and your family setup. But like I said, we're thinking about working mum burnout this week, and I've had so many comments, I've had so many emails and messages in response to what I've been talking about. And this is the thing, really, this is just about, the only reason why I do these sessions is to raise awareness, to let you know that you are not alone, whatever you're thinking or feeling, whatever you're going through, regardless of the topic of the week. It's just to raise awareness and just put it out there and let you know that you're not alone. And burnout is something that affects all of us. And burnout is something that I bump up against myself, every now and then as well. We all do. And that's, for a larger part, that's kind of life, right? Because life is so busy, and it's about being aware and being able to recognise the signs and being able to do things differently. And sometimes we do things, we make the changes, and everything goes along really, really smoothly. But life happens to us all, and we often don't have any great control over that, but we do get to control how we cope with it and how we deal with it. Like, we can't control everything around us, but we can control how we respond and how we feel and what we do to look after ourselves. So some of the things that I'm going to be talking about now are going to be fairly generic to everybody, and some of them are a little bit more about, I think about myself a lot. I talk about myself a lot because I'm an average mum, right? An average mum with 2 children, working, trying to run a business, mostly doing that very successfully, and then sometimes not. That's, I keep it real. Like, I don't pretend that I've got everything sorted. I like to think that I've got it sorted most of the time, but I don't have it sorted all of the time, because none of us do. And that is the reality of life. Nobody has got it sorted all of the time. But we can put little things in place to help it run smoother, to help it run easier. So I've got a few points. You'll see me looking down at my piece of paper, just because I've got a few points that I want to make sure that I cover, and I don't want to go too off track. So first of all, let's just have a think about work-life balance, because work-life balance for me is what it's all about. And I was talking about this last week because this is something that I am very keen and very aware of making sure that I keep in check most of the time. And there are going to be weeks where work is busier, where life is busier, where the children's activities are busier. And then there's going to be times when it feels a little bit quieter and a little bit more under control. But this really is about work-life balance and about making sure that wherever possible we can find time for ourselves, because that's ultimately what this is about. This is about finding time for ourselves so that we can do all the things that we want to do, in our family life, in our relationships, in our work life, but making sure that in amongst all of that, we don't lose ourselves. And that is absolutely, absolutely key. So blocking out time is something that I have personally found really helpful. So if you don't know me, I'm Pascal. I'm a relationship and confidence coach. I was a social worker, former social worker for 18 years, both qualified and unqualified in that time. Started my social work career at the age of 21, 22. So all of my professional growing up, if you like, not professional growing up, but growing up in my adult life has been within that context. And then I trained as a therapist when I started having children, and then started running my own business and gave up my social work hat about 4 or 5 years ago now. So it's been busy, it's been full on. My kids are 9 and 6, and life is hectic. And I learnt very quickly, especially after once I went into training as a therapist, having to look after very young children. Obviously, I wanted to be with my children. That was the main driver for me of wanting to run my own business and give up my social work career, was that I wanted to build a life around my family. I had no idea how difficult it was going to be. I had no idea how hard it was going to be. I don't regret it. I wouldn't do it differently. But learning to chunk out my time became something that was absolutely essential for me to do, and something that I have to work very hard on doing. It's still something that if I am not on it in terms of my time, I can really easily fall down the rabbit hole of work, because work, regardless of whether you're working for yourself or whether you are employed, work takes up an enormous amount of our time, and I can easily, I could easily work 15 hours a day, and not make time for anybody else, let alone myself. So being very aware of that time, being very aware of how I start my day, how I finish my day. So how I start my day with the family, with my children, how I start my work day, how I finish my work day, and then how I finish my work day with the children and my husband is crucial, absolutely crucial. So I know that for me personally, I need to make sure that I am exercising, I need to make sure that I am resting, and I need to make sure that I am sleeping. So I'll do these 2 points together. Now that's me personally, that they're the things that make me tick. Being with my children is the most important thing in the world to me. Being really good at my job is the second most important thing in the world to me. And then everything else kind of, I suppose, slots in really, in a positive way slots in. So I know that walking to school, well, I drive my kids to school because they're a bit lazy and a bit moany in the morning. But I go for a walk around the area for half an hour in the morning, listening to either an audiobook or listening to affirmations, positive messages for my brain. That's a non-negotiable. That is absolutely non-negotiable for me, how I start my day and how I finish my work day when I go to pick up the children from school. Also walking and listening. So walking and listening is a massive thing for me, as is hitting the yoga mat before anybody gets up in the morning, and doing that for 25 minutes, 20 to 30 minutes, depending on time and energy, and going to bed early. So these are things that I urge you to do. You might not want to walk and listen, and you might not want to hit the yoga mat. But doing something for your mind and your body and blocking that time out and making that non-negotiable, in my opinion, is an absolute must. Because I could so easily get up in the morning, knock out a couple of emails, answer a couple of messages, rush to get the kids ready for school, rush back, dive straight into work. I could do all of that. But I know for me personally, my energy needs to be right for my clients, like for myself, but for my clients, I want to be able to deliver the best to them. And part of being able to deliver the best to them is making sure that I am feeling good. And that feeling good happens for me when I make sure that that time in the morning is protected, and at the end of the day, at the end of the school day for them too. Now, you might not be able to do the school run twice a day, 5 days a week. I'm very lucky. I can. I've built my business around making sure that is non-negotiable. Occasionally, I will see a client at 4 o'clock. But ideally, my working day finishes at 3 o'clock. Now, why is that important to me? That is important to me because, and had this conversation last week as well, because I work throughout. Like, I was with one of my friends at the weekend, and she was saying, "You're always working. You know, even when you're on holiday, you're always working." I'm like, well, yeah, I kind of am always working, to be honest with you. I do take time off. I do have time off when I'm on holiday, but I run my own business. And I love my business, right? It's like my running my own business and the work that I do is a pleasure for me. It's not a chore. Now, I recognise that I need to have time off, but also no work, no money. So, which is the same for so many people who run their own business. It doesn't mean that I'm working. You know, I'm not working 5 hours a day. I'm often, if I'm on holiday, I'm working a couple of hours a day. That's my choice to do that. I enjoy to do that. So making sure that I have the time off at the end of the day, 3 o'clock onwards with my children. I don't work on a Friday. I don't work at all on a Friday, and I have the weekend off. I think is, for me personally, is a really good balance. And it would depend what works for you too. So it's not about my way is the best way. My way is the best way for me, and your way will be the best way for you. But you need to make a conscious decision to block that time out and make it, and that's protected time. So there are protected times that are very important. Friday is a protected time for me. That is my time, 9 till 3. The kids are at school. I don't have to be running anywhere. I don't have to be meeting anyone. I don't have to be, I'll go for lunch with my husband, or I'll meet a friend for coffee. I'll get my nails done. I'm generally quite busy, to be honest with you, on a Friday, but that doesn't matter because I'm doing the things that I want to be doing. So make the time to do that. Being present. Look, at home, we are always going to have things to do, especially if you are working from home like I do. And most of us are working from home quite a lot now post-pandemic. I think the pandemic was dreadful, obviously, in so many ways, but was also wonderful in so many ways, and created a lot of different perspectives, a lot of different outlooks, a lot of different ways of working, and that is great. However, when we are working from home, there is literally no rest. Because if you're like me, you will stop to go and make yourself a cup of tea, and then you'll be emptying the dishwasher, or you'll be doing the next load of washing, or you'll be doing this, or you'll be doing that. You'll be doing the online shop. Like it's relentless. But making that time to be present is even more important. Now, do I sit down on the floor with my children and play or read or do an activity with them every single day? No, of course I don't. like mostly because they're busy doing their own thing, right? They're busy playing Roblox with their friends, or, you know, doing whatever they need to do. That is absolutely fine. But I do make sure that there is a certain time every day where I am present with them and we are engaged in whatever it is we are doing. I love to make sure that we have dinner together. Again, dinner doesn't happen every day altogether because we've got clubs and activities and what have you. But 4 times a week, I want to be eating as a family. That's my value, that's my preference. It might not be yours, it's important to me, but I know that during that time there's no devices, there's no interruptions, we're eating together, we're talking about our day, we're talking about what's going on. Then if we want to sit down on the floor and do a puzzle, my youngest likes doing puzzles, or if we're doing colouring in, or we're doing whatever it is that we're doing, reading together, whatever, then that is the time that we can do that together. And by knowing that I've got that chunk in my mind, it varies from time to time, but I will be able to say, I just need to finish off doing this, but then I'll sit down with you for half an hour and we'll do this. They don't need hours. They don't need hours of our time, but they do want that half hour where I am present, where I am with them in that moment, and where there are no other interruptions. So being present, I think there's a theme going on here that I hope you're catching on to. Being present, being mindful of our time, being mindful of our energy, chunking out those times, having that good awareness. If you know that you have got an assessment to finish off, or you've got a report or emails or what have you, if you know that you've just set aside half an hour and that is your block of time, it just takes the pressure off. It just makes it so much easier to then go, right, that's okay. I don't need to be thinking about the next thing I need to be doing now for half an hour. That gives me time to just be in the zone with my kids, or reading, or meditating, or whatever it is that you want to be doing. And then I've got so many other things that I could talk about here. Learning, I'm just going to do two more because I think these two more are really important. I talked about this last week, ditching perfectionism. And ditching perfectionism is so important because perfectionism just doesn't exist. Okay, perfectionism is some rubbish that we've assimilated over the years of Facebook and Instagram, and these wonderful lives where everybody's it's total rubbish. And actually leading to the next point, that perfectionism is encouraged, I think, by looking at everybody else and seeing what everybody else is doing and wondering why you're not able to do it as well as them. And that's twofold. First of all, I feel like I say this every week, but it's so important. You've got no idea what's going on in other people's lives. And trust me, having had enough women and couples sitting in front of me, you've got no idea what goes on behind closed doors. And trust me, it is not as pretty as it looks. So just because somebody's got it all sorted out on the outside, it doesn't mean that they've got it all sorted out behind closed doors. And that is an absolute reality. So, and also you don't know how hard they're working to get to where they are. You don't know how hard they've worked to get to the position that they're in, to get the lifestyle that they've got, to get the work-life balance that they've got. You know, these things take effort. Like, it doesn't come easily. It doesn't come naturally. So don't worry about what everybody else is doing. Just concentrate on being the best version of you that you can be without perfection. It's not about being perfect. It's about knowing when you get it wrong and being okay with that, and knowing what you need to do to put it right. Okay? Because accountability is massive. Accountability is so important. When we get things wrong, that doesn't mean that we haven't failed just because we've got something wrong, or because we've made a mistake, or we could have done it better another way. We just learn from that, and we apologise if we need to apologise, or we talk about it if we need to talk about it, and we just say, I'll do it differently next time. So don't worry about getting it right all the time. Don't worry about being perfect. Don't worry that Sarah Jane is doing it so much better than you, or that everybody else seems to be doing it so much better than you, because they're not. Like, trust me, they are not. And be open about talking about it. Be open about talking about your emotions, Talk to your partner, talk to your peers, talk to your manager, like whoever you need to talk to about it. Make sure that that communication is open and is honest. Because if we are not talking about how we are feeling, we are setting ourselves up massively. Like, we need to be honest about what is going on in our life. We need to be honest about what we are struggling with. And we need to be honest about what we need to delegate. And, I speak to myself with this one, because delegating is something that doesn't come easily to me. It isn't something that I feel that I naturally do. I've always been fiercely independent. I always do. I've always done a lot of things by myself, and so that was all very well and good when I was single. But now I'm a married mum with 2 children, running my own business, and trying to do everything on your own with all of that on is impossible. It's absolutely impossible. So be honest about what you're struggling with. Put down the things that you don't need to be doing. Ask your partner for support. Ask your children for support. I've got to get better at asking my kids to do stuff, because I still do. I still treat them like they're babies. I want to do everything for them, but I also know that I can't do everything for them, and that I'm not teaching them anything if I'm doing everything for them. So it's about delegating to them, delegating to my husband. If you've got a manager or peers or colleagues that you can delegate. Like, I was speaking to one of my clients last week about this. Like, do your to-do list, get organized, know everything that you want to do, prioritize the things that are A jobs for you to do, and see where you can hand some stuff out. See what you can give to somebody else to do. You don't need to be doing it all by yourself. And if that means that you need to hire a cleaner, hire a cleaner. Like, God, my cleaner comes in twice a week. I can't keep on top of it otherwise. So I don't have any. I'm neither proud nor embarrassed to say that she comes in twice a week. She comes in twice a week. Like, it's just how it is. So get help. Get help. Whatever you need help with. If you need help, get help. And don't be afraid to ask for it, and don't be afraid to say that you're struggling, because I think not being able to talk about it, I think, is one of the biggest problems that we have. I feel like women are, I think men probably don't ask for help. I don't know with men. Like I said, I don't work with men, so I don't have that much of a sense about whether, I'm not going to make any big sweeping statements, is what I mean, about whether or not women do it better or worse, or, I just know that as a woman who works with women, I don't think we're very good at asking for help. And that is one of the main things. And then the last thing is knowing when to rest, knowing when to recharge, knowing when and how to replenish, and to not feel guilty about that. Like, to not feel guilty about any of this. None of this is worth feeling guilty about. Being the best version of you and doing what you can do to your best ability is where it's at. So let go of the guilt. There's no prizes for running yourself into the ground. That's it, isn't it? There's absolutely no prizes for running yourself into the ground. So let go of the perfectionism, let go of the guilt, communicate, delegate, and recuperate. Listen to that. Doesn't that sound great? That's a great way to end. Okay, I hope that's been helpful for you. It's a whistle-stop tour. I might do a masterclass on this, actually, because I could talk about this for hours. There might be a masterclass coming up on this in the future. I'll give it some thought. But yeah, let me know what you think. Enjoy the rest of your week, and I'll catch up with you guys soon. Take care.